I post under Louisiana Fishtails on YouTube, and I post most of Stanley and I's trips, or Ron and I's trips on that. So, if y'all not familiar with the YouTube channel, please go to it and subscribe, and you'll get most update trips on that, and how we fishing, where we fishing, and what we catching, and all the techniques. So, I appreciate it if y'all could check that out. Okay. Just recently, before you start that, boss. Just recently, I was shown in, I think it's the February edition of Marsh and Bayou, where last month I caught a 5.22 pound speckled trout on the rocks. And
you're my hero.
Yeah. And the bait I was using is this. I'll pass it around. Some of y'all have been here already know about it, but it's the Berkeley Cutter 90. Okay? That's it.
All right, next up, Ron's going to give you a little presentation on his version of a trolling rig.
If it gets hung up, the loop knots have a tendency to fail as compared to my FG knot that I use for my braid, 10-pound braid to 20-pound fluorocarbon. So it'll fail mostly here at these spots. But anyway, one of the things is that with the rattle trap, we've been pretty successful in Mr. Go lately using this for speckled trout. When you fish it, you pretty much want to try to make sure that you drop this one in the water first with your line. If I get a double head. Yep. If you drop that first, it'll have a tendency to space out and keep that rattle trap from getting up into the line. And so the distance, between essentially you can drop it down over the side of the boat and you put that lure down first. You can lure down first and then you put the rattle trap after it as you're beginning your troll. And one of the things is that you're concerned with making sure that the rattle trap itself doesn't get tied up into this line. So we don't really have to use too heavy a weight on the trailer, just something enough to keep it.
What weight is that?
This one is, I usually about 1/8 ounce. Okay. Now I'm going to play around with it and maybe go with something even a little bit smaller, but just a single jig head. And I've got a number of different trailers. You can use some of these. We typically would use some of these smaller ones when we're fishing for those silvers and white trout. But and we did use these in Mr. Go, but I'm thinking about trying to go with some of the bigger baits. I did catch one on this bigger as a trailer. I'm thinking that for the Lake P troll, kind of like what Stanley's doing, we might want to try to go with a little bit bigger. Maybe right now this is the 1/2 ounce rattle trap, and I'm thinking that we might want to try to go with either the 3/4 ounce or maybe even that there's a big one now, it's a 1 ounce, and then use one of Rudy and I's favorite lure, which is the Power Prawn Junior shrimp bait. I don't know if you've heard us talk about that, but Power Prawn Junior shrimp bait. Stanley, you got? Here's one.
I don't have any, man, Ron.
I got
Is that where you draw the eyes on?
Just bought me 100 of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, finally, you buy a $10 pole, with no white thing. Weight, and that just be a trailer with not much weight?
Yeah, I'm going to show a diagram up there. Get the one, if you would, Stanley, that looks like off the trailer off of the end and catching them with the trailer off the end. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is that what you get with this is that as you're moving through, sideways. When you're going through the water, the angle that you're going to get, if you see this thing, well, now the angle is made based on this line being straight between your line and the rattle trap. That's what I'm trying to depict there. The green is your main line. It hooks up to here. And then the rattle trap, so that's the angle you get. That angle is going to be a function of how fast you're going. Because this thing is a sinking bait to a spot where the water's going to, the bottom's coming up. You can actually just lift your pole up. And so the same amount of distance you raise your pole is how much you're going to be raising it in the water column, above the bottom. So that helps keep it from maybe hanging up. Now, one of the things that Stanley does with his is he periodically feels the bottom, then raises it, and then kind of jigs it a little bit. I don't know how much extra action you're going to get by jigging it, but certainly.
That way, if you're in a snaggy area, there's plenty of fish.
Well, like that.
They like that shape.
I'm trying to take, well, probably the next thing I'm going to try is to take that front treble hook
That's
off.
what I do.
Yeah. Or put single hooks, as T-Dot just said. That might not be a bad idea as either, put single hooks on both. But removing that treble hook off of this one. The other thing is that we talk about treble.
Fish did you target up north with that rig?
Oh, so you want also a side of fries? You want also
They
a
call
side
them
of fries?
silvers up there, but it's white bass.
White bass?
So you don't.
And nowadays, they also have things called stripers or wipers, which are mixed.
Extra fries.
Rudy's gonna get you.
Yeah, anybody else have
What was
any
your name?
other?
White.
Wait.
Ron, you said you don't jig that, you just pull it behind you?
You just pull it behind. Now, that's one of the nice things too, is that really, periodically I might lift up, bring it back down, and make sure that I'm touching the bottom. I'll leave out enough line to get to the bottom. Okay? And whatever gets back the whole time, you pull it in, it's all twisted up like
So that if you get a snag,
Yeah.
now I've also used the regular, the other reel, like you have, I just keep it out.
That's one of the things about if you had a bait caster, it'd be a little bit easier potentially to.
Well, we always use that, your thumb's always.
You're using your thumb that way,
Yeah.
okay.
So
But
that
with
it-
this one, I loosen my drag enough to where I can feel it, to where if you do get hung up, the barb is away from your skin and you pull it out. And that's great, and it worked on one. I had one in this finger here. We tried it, we couldn't do it. Oh man, this is crazy. So I said, oh yeah, so I'm gonna have to do the thing of pushing it through. Marty says, well, you have just.
It's great, clear, but if it kinks or if you have a rash, it's gonna break at that point.
Yeah.
Whereas monofilament is much buoyant than the fluorocarb. Then if you wanna lose your whole rig,
Well, if you decide to, it appears that they threw all the junk when they built the train bridge over on the west side, all right? So, close to the bridge, if you're on the west side, whether you're going north or south, that's where you see, when they talk about the Lake Petrol, you hit the bottom, you can't drag along the bottom. As you said, you gotta challenge the bottom, but you bounce it up, all right? Otherwise, you're just gonna snag all the time, lose all kinds of bait, all right? The east side seems to be not as much junk, but it can still be happen. But you guys, as soon as you feel the bottom, you bounce it up, okay? And then there was one more thing. Crap. Oh well, I'm old.
Oh, I do have one last thing.
You got water the whole
Lake
way.
Petro technique.
So you don't have to alternate that. So you're working along there, and basically you're working it, twitching it back up and down, so it's popping like this, because you don't want to be dragging, You want to be popping it up and down, that way hopefully you'll miss whatever
As
you hook up.
Stanley said, is that once you get that length that's hitting on the bottom, with your pole, if you lift it up, it's
Yeah.
gonna rise in the
Right.
water column.
Right.
So you can adjust where you are in that water column, but again, as he said, trying to pop it up and down.
Right. But the key, you don't have to set a hook when you're doing this, so those treble hooks are going to set themselves when these fish hit it, because it's already moving, okay? So the big thing with the bait catcher is you don't have any gear, so if you get hung up, you can tell the difference between getting hung up and a bite, okay? And so if you get hung up, you just let your finger off, let the line out, and pretty much 60, 70, 80% of the time, you're going to be able to get it off of there if you go back behind it and reel it in, and that's the way you kind of save from having to change out maybe 15 or 20 of them, because there's a lot of hang-ups along the LP. you know.
And with this one too, I can,
It's the body. I think everybody knows what, does everybody know what that is?
Mm-hmm, I think so.
A little like John, that's where everybody's posted up right now. That's where, people are posting up, they're waiting for. a few
Did you
fish
go,
to come
did you
through
go
there.
into 4-horse, spot 58A?
I didn't make it into full.
You didn't make it over there?
I didn't make it to full horse. I fished 51, A, B, C, and B. 51A seems to be holding a few fish, nothing crazy. Caught about 5 keepers, about 7
Well,
pearlbacks.
better than nothing, you know?
Decent action, but you could tell that the volume of fish and the volume of bites has been diminished. You can tell that the fish kill has affected. that
Yeah, I'm
area.
gonna put it on the screen in a minute, the wildlife and fisheries fish kill. Anybody else had any recent trips they went on? Man, nobody fishes here? We live
Water
out.
looks better than usual.
It look better than usual?
It's better than usual for that.
Well, we just brought the Bay Flat Senior back down to Delacroix, so we'll probably start fishing that area pretty quick. Any comments, any questions? Anybody got any specific questions about fishing?
You know, it might not tell you exactly what you're targeting, but when you see a slick bottom and no blips on it, you can guarantee there's no fish there, and you're wasting your time sticking around.
Yeah, I just don't buy. I got to be in that boat. We went to Branson, Missouri, and we paid this guy $600 to fish. We're fishing in 230 feet of water.